Port Harcourt-Enugu Expressway was a never-ending sea of vehicles, their horns blaring impatiently as they maneuvered through the congested road. The air smelled of burning fuel, sweat, and roasted corn. Among the many hawkers weaving through traffic, shouting over one another to attract customers, stood Amaka, her basket of plantain chips balanced perfectly on her head. Hot and crispy plantain chips. Buy your fresh plantain chips. Her voice rang out, clear and sweet. Unlike the other hawkers, who rushed from car to car, shoving their goods into passengers' faces, Amaka moved gracefully, her eyes scanning for genuine buyers. She knew how to work the roadside. Some customers bought her chips not because they were hungry, but just to get a moment of her attention. Her beauty was undeniable. Dark, smooth skin that glowed under the sun, large, expressive eyes that held a quiet innocence, and a smile so warm it could melt even the harshest hearts. But beauty was both a gift and a curse, and Amaka was well aware of it. As she approached a yellow minibus stuck in traffic, a man sitting in the front passenger seat whistled at her. "Fine girl. Come closer, let me see your face well," he said, grinning. His friend in the driver's seat chuckled. Amaka pretended not to hear. She simply raised her basket higher. "Plantain chips, sir?" The man laughed. "Ah, you know they talk to fine boys." Still ignoring him, Amaka turned to another passenger, an elderly woman, and gave her a polite smile. "Mama, you want plantain chips?" The old woman nodded, reaching into her wrapper for money. The man in the front seat scoffed. "You today do shokara. Na because you fine small. Don't worry, one day, this your beauty go land you where your I no go like." Amaka felt a chill run down her spine at his words, but she didn't react. She had heard worse. She quickly handed the old woman her chips, collected her money, and moved to the next vehicle. A few meters away, under the shade of a tree near the police checkpoint, a group of officers were stopping cars, collecting bribes, and occasionally chatting with roadside sellers. Among them was Inspector Jerry, a tall, dark-skinned man in his late 30s. His uniform was slightly unbuttoned, revealing a gold chain around his neck. His presence was commanding, and his reputation was well known. He was a man who always got what he wanted. He leaned against a car, watching Amaka. "That girl," he said, nudging a fellow officer. "You see how she moves? She's different from these other ones." The officer chuckled. "Inspector, I beg leave these small girls. Make them hustle in peace." Jerry smirked. "Who said I'm disturbing her? I just admire fine things. And you know me, I always get what I want." He watched as Amaka disappeared into the crowd of hawkers, a sly smile forming on his lips. For the next few weeks, Inspector Jerry made it a habit to buy plantain chips from Amaka every evening. At first, she was wary. She had learned from her mother never to trust men in uniform, especially those who smiled too much. "How are you today, my dear?" he asked one evening, handing her a 500 naira note for a pack of plantain chips. "I don't have change, sir," she replied quickly, trying to hand the money back. "Keep the change," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Use it to buy something nice for yourself." Amaka hesitated. She didn't like accepting money from men. But hunger had a way of bending principles. She gave him a small nod and muttered, "Thank you, sir." "Call me Jerry," he corrected. "Or better yet, Uncle Jerry." She forced a smile, grabbed her basket, and left. This continued for weeks. Jerry never rushed her. He would ask about her family, her life, her dreams. She answered cautiously, never giving too much away. But one evening, as she stood by the roadside rubbing her aching feet, Jerry saw his chance. "You work too hard, my dear," he said from his car. "Let me give you a ride home today." Amaka hesitated. Jerry raised a hand. "No pressure. But think about it, do you really want to walk all the way home in this heat?" She swallowed. The road home was long, and her feet throbbed painfully. Maybe just once, she thought. She nodded slowly. "Okay, sir." As she sat in the passenger seat, Jerry smiled. His patience was paying off. Amaka never saw it coming. One night, Jerry invited her to his house. "Come, just for a few minutes," he urged. "I have something for you." She refused at first, but he was persistent. "I swear on my mother's grave, I just want to give you something I bought for you." She finally agreed. The moment she stepped inside, she knew something was wrong. The air was too quiet, the door locked too quickly. Before she could react, he was on her. "Please, Uncle Jerry, don't do this," she begged, struggling under his weight. "Shush," he whispered, pinning her down. "Just relax, it wouldn't take long, I come fast." The next morning, she walked home in silence, her body aching, her soul shattered. Weeks later, she began to notice the changes: morning sickness, dizziness, her clothes tightening around her belly. She was pregnant. When she confronted Jerry, he laughed in her face. "How do I even know the child is mine?" She felt her heart shatter. "But you said." "I said what?" He smirked. "That I'd take care of you." "Sorry, my dear. I have too many responsibilities already." Abandoned and ashamed, Amaka fought to survive. She hawked until her belly grew too big. One stormy night, in the tiny, dimly lit room smelled of sweat, dampness, and the faint metallic scent of blood. The wooden walls creaked with every gust of wind, and the only source of light was a flickering lantern on the floor. Amaka lay on the thin mattress, her body trembling from exhaustion. She cradled her newborn son, Michael, against her chest, his tiny fingers curled around hers. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "It's just you and me now, my son," she whispered, pressing a kiss to his forehead. The pain of childbirth was nothing compared to the pain of knowing she had no one to help her. No mother, no father, no friend. Just a fragile life depending on her for survival. A knock on the door startled her. She hesitated before forcing herself up. Her legs felt weak, and she bit her lip against the pain as she wrapped a thin wrapper around her body and shuffled to the door. She opened it to see Mama Uche, her neighbor, a stout woman with a face hardened by years of struggle. "Amaka, you done born?" Mama Uche said, her eyes scanning the room. Amaka nodded weakly. Mama Uche sighed, stepping inside without an invitation. "Chai. You this girl, you know here word. I tell you make you call me if you day labor, why you born alone?" Amaka lowered her gaze. Mema Uche exhaled sharply and placed a small black pot on the wooden table. "Take, drink this hot pepper soup. It will help your body strong." Tears welled up in Amaka's eyes. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. "Thank you, Ma." As she drank, Mema Uche studied her while cuddling the baby. "So, where is the father of the child?" Silence. Then, Amaka let out a bitter chuckle. "Gone. He said the child isn't his." Mama Uche hissed. "God will judge him. Don't worry." "But what will you do now?" Amaka looked at her sleeping son, his tiny chest rising and falling. "I will raise him. I will make sure he never suffers like me." Mama Uche sighed. "Me go hard, but I go help you when I fit." And with that, Amaka's journey as a single mother began. The morning sun was just beginning to rise when Amaka tied baby Michael to her back with a faded wrapper and stepped out into the bustling streets. She had no maternity leave, no savings, no one to rely on. Life didn't stop for a poor woman. She picked up her basket of plantain chips and walked to her usual spot by the roadside. Her body was still sore from childbirth, but hunger didn't wait for recovery. "Plantain chips. Fresh, hot plantain chips," she called out, trying to sound cheerful despite the dull ache in her stomach. Some people pitied her, giving her extra change, smiling kindly. Others just walked past, indifferent. By midday, the heat was unbearable. Sweat soaked her blouse, and baby Michael whimpered on her back. She stopped under a tree, shifting him slightly. "Sure, my love, just a little longer." But the world was not kind. "Amaka," a sharp voice called. She turned to see Mama Chidinma, her former landlord, storming toward her. "Where is my money?" the woman barked, arms crossed. "You day owe me 2 months' rent." Amaka swallowed. "Mama, please, I just born. Give me small time. Born no concern me." Mama Chidinma snapped. "If you no pay, pack comet from my house." Tears stung Amaka's eyes. She had no money. Nowhere to go. She turned to a nearby officer, hoping for some mercy. Ogre police, beg, help me beg her. The officer glanced at her and scoffed. Me go pay your rent. Amaka bowed her head, humiliation burning in her chest. She knew she had to do something. Anything. That evening, as Amaka rocked Michael to sleep, she heard a knock at the door. She opened it to find Madame Felicia, a well-dressed woman in her 40s. She owned one of the biggest beer parlors in town, and her name carried both respect and fear. Mama Uche talk say you day struggle, Madame Felicia said, stepping inside. Amaka nodded cautiously. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. If you day ready I get vacancy for you. It pays well. Amaka's heart pounded. What kind of work? Madame Felicia ran a finger along the table. You be JJC? Why you day behave like say you know no say I get girls like you way day work for me. I just want help you. Amaka stiffened. She knew what the woman was implying. I know fit, she whispered. Madame Felicia chuckled. Think about it. You and your baby deserve better. As she left, Amaka sat in the dark, staring at her son. Was this her only way out? Desperation was a dangerous thing. After countless low sales, Amaka made up her mind. She walked into Madame Felicia's lounge, her heart pounding. The air smelled of alcohol, perfume, and immorality. She was introduced to the other women, painted faces, forced smiles, eyes full of hidden pain. Her first night was a nightmare. Drunken men grabbing, whispering filthy promises, shoving money into her hands. She hated every second. But Michael needed food. So she endured. Days turned to weeks, and slowly, Amaka learned the rules. How to survive. But deep inside, she knew she was losing herself. Until one night, when Inspector Jerry walked in. Their eyes met. For a moment, he looked surprised. Then, he laughed. So this is where you ended up, he sneered, taking a seat. After all that Shokara? I just knew I wasn't the father of that child. Amaka's hands clenched into fists. You ruined my life, she whispered. Jerry smirked. No, my dear. You ruined yours. Hope you're still sweet like before he winked. Her heart pounded with hatred as she watched Jerry walk up to Madame Felicia and whispered some words before giving her some cash. She looked at Amaka whose heart kept pounding. Enter room you get customer, she heard Madame Felicia's voice ring out behind her. Amaka sat curled up in the corner of the dimly lit room, hugging her knees to her chest. She had tried everything, begging, pleading, even offering Madame Felicia all the money she had saved just to avoid this night. But the older woman had simply sneered. You think this is a charity house? Madame Felicia's voice had been sharp, her heavily powdered face twisted in irritation. That man paid double to have you, Amaka. You better not act stupid. Or should I throw you and that child of yours out on the streets? Her words had been like a knife to Amaka's chest. Michael. She could endure anything, but the thought of her baby boy starving in the cold was too much to bear. So here she was. The door creaked open, and her body tensed as heavy footsteps entered. The air shifted, filled with the strong scent of whiskey and sweat. She didn't need to look up. She knew that scent. Then came the slow, mocking chuckle. Well, a familiar voice drawled. Look who finally learned her place. Her blood turned ice cold. Inspector Jerry. Her hands clenched into fists, her nails digging into her palms as she raised her eyes to meet his. He looked different from the last time she had seen him. No uniform. Just a loose, expensive-looking shirt, the top buttons undone, revealing a thick gold chain resting against his chest. His face held that same smug expression, but now there was something else in his gaze, something sinister. She felt sick. Jerry strolled closer, his boots clicking against the wooden floor. He took his time, like a lion circling its prey. You're staring like you've seen a ghost, he smirked. Didn't think I'd see you here. She swallowed hard. Please don't do this. He laughed, low and cruel. Oh, Amaka. I love seeing proud girls like you brought down to your knees. All that shokara you were doing back then, where did it get you? Look at you now. Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She wouldn't give him that satisfaction. He reached out, tracing a finger along her jaw. She flinched, but he only laughed again. Still sweet like before. He winked. A shudder ran through her spine, but she forced herself to stay still. Let's not waste time, Jerry sighed dramatically. I paid good money for this. And this time, you're not running away. Her stomach twisted. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to fight, to do something. But what choice did she have? She closed her eyes, and for the second time in her life, Amaka lost a part of herself. The first time Amaka saw him, she didn't think much of it. Rich men came and went all the time. Most of them carried the same arrogant air, entitled, greedy, predators in expensive suits. But he was different. He walked into Madame Felicia's brothel like he didn't belong there. His presence alone made the room feel smaller. The dim yellow lights reflected off his wristwatch, and his tailored suit fit him like a second skin. The other girls whispered among themselves. That man is money walking. See the way he carries himself. I bet he owns half this town. Amaka wasn't interested. If anything, she prayed he wouldn't pick her. But when Madame Felicia, with her fake charm, asked which girl he wanted, he barely glanced around before pointing. Ha! Amaka's breath hitched. The room fell silent for a second. Even Madame Felicia raised an eyebrow. You sure, sir? I have. I said her, the man repeated, his voice calm but firm. And just like that, she was led to his room. Amaka braced herself for the usual routine, the greedy eyes, the rough hands, the shame. But the moment the door closed behind them, he surprised her. He walked past her and sat on the armchair near the window, unbuttoning his sleeves as if he had just finished a long day at work. Then he turned to her and spoke the last thing she expected to hear. What's your name? She frowned. You paid for me to talk. He smirked slightly. Just answer. She hesitated, studying him. He was young, early 30s, maybe. His features were sharp, his skin a deep, smooth brown. There was something unreadable in his eyes. Amaka, she finally answered. He nodded slowly, tapping his fingers against the chair's armrest. Then, he did something even stranger. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a stack of crisp Naira notes, and placed them on the table. You can go. She blinked. What? You heard me. She stared at him, waiting for him to laugh, to say it was a joke, to change his mind. But he didn't. And that night, for the first time in a long time, she walked out of a man's room untouched. It happened again. And again. Every time he came, he picked her. And every time, he let her go. At first, she thought he was playing a game. Maybe he enjoyed watching her squirm. But soon, curiosity got the better of her. Why do you do this? She asked one evening, sitting across from him. He looked up from his glass of whiskey, his eyes meeting hers. Do what? Pay for me, only to send me away. He leaned back, studying her like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. Then he smiled faintly. Because I see something in you. She frowned. What do you mean? You're not meant to be here, he said simply. But you're stuck. And I want to know why. Something in his voice made her chest tighten. No one had ever cared to ask why before. And that night, she told him everything. About Jerry. About Michael. About how she ended up in a place she never belonged. For the first time, she let herself be seen. And for the first time, she saw something else in his eyes. Rage. That man is still walking free? His voice was dangerously calm. She nodded. His powerful. David, the name she had learned after many conversations, set down his glass, his expression unreadable. What if I told you I could help you get justice? Her breath hitched. How? A small smirk touched his lips. Let me show you what real power looks like. The battle wasn't easy. Jerry had connections. But David had more. Slowly, piece by piece, the case against Jerry built. And when the day came, he fell. Stripped of his badge. His reputation in ruins. Amaka wept the day she saw the headlines. She was finally free. And David? He didn't just stop at justice. He became her home. He loved Michael like his own. He loved her like she had never been loved before. And for the first time in her life, Amaka stopped surviving. She lived. The moral lesson of this story is that even in your darkest moments, there is hope. The right people will find you. And true love will never demand your body, it will heal your soul. Please subscribe, like, comment and share.